Blackballed. 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 Blackballed.
And welcome to Blackballed. My name is James D. Fiore, and we have another one of those shows where I get to field emails from losers who tell me that I shouldn't give a platform to certain individuals. I don't know why you guys don't get, and it's the same people that always seem to send these emails. Look, that's fine. My answer will always be the same. It's 2 words. I'll let you figure out what I usually tell these people. But today, we have, she's a former federal candidate for the People's Party of Canada. And she also, and she can't escape this, we discussed this a little bit today, not that she wants to, but she's also the daughter of one of the most controversial politicians probably in our lifetime, Randy Hillier. And her name is Chelsea Hillier. Chelsea, welcome to Blackballed. Oh, look at you. Just trolling right away, eh? Just right away.
Do I don't have to wear this for your show, or
no, you don't.
No. Okay.
No, yeah.
So, let me doff it properly then. I mean, I picked it up off my bedroom floor, but whatever.
Right. That's a good place to start. What is the lure of sort of trolling the left? Like what I mean, haven't they we talked on the phone earlier on today, and isn't there like some serious stuff that's happening with the left that has sort of like made your life a little bit tumultuous, let's just say?
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. So I think, like, first and foremost, I'm sarcastic. I'm a sarcastic person, and I find humor in most things in life. I also used to be a hardcore leftist. And I was a cross-cultural competency facilitator, which actually means that I went around and taught critical race theory to organizations, employers, and employees. So I think that just, sort of the trajectory of my life has brought me to a place where I really feel like I have no choice but to make fun of the nonsense. You're right. It has been a tough go. But I also, when I'm trolling people, I also try to, first of all, never, ever make assumptions or personal attacks on people that I don't know. So I like to take sort of the umbrella of what they're fighting under and make fun of the umbrella rather than the person holding it.
Yeah. And that's fair. I mean, I have an issue with the way that the left and the right sort of operate. If you look at the loudest groups, right? So on one hand, I do have an issue with the left being offended for literally everything under the sun. On the other hand, I do think that the right now has a little bit of an identity crisis themselves. I watched the first convoy protest in Ottawa and then the last one this last weekend. And what I found interesting from the first one to this one was what it had in common, even though it wasn't as big. And that was a message that was lost on those of us who didn't have a dog in the fight.
Well, first of all, we all have a dog in the fight, whether you like to admit it or not. So,
well, it's very philosophical of you to say so, Chelsea.
Well, I did spend a long time in academia, so...
Yeah, can you tell me about, before we actually answer the question first, and then I'll pivot away. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just sort of making a little joke there myself. Like, yeah, I mean, we all have a dog in this fight, and you can pretend you don't. Anyone can pretend they don't, but everything that's happened the last 2 years has absolutely impacted absolutely everyone. And for some people, it's been beneficial. And for some people, it's been absolutely devastating. And for some people, it's somewhere in the middle. But whether it's been beneficial or not, beneficial or destructive, everyone has a dog in this fight.
Do you think that the pandemic was a fake pandemic?
I think that it was an overblown pandemic.
Explain that.
Okay, well, we like at the very beginning of this, listen, I was the one, like, I would literally have the cowbell and the friggin' sandwich board at the beginning before any lockdowns happened, telling people there's a virus coming from China, because I was an avid CBC listener. And I remember on March 13th of 2020, sitting with a group of people and telling them that there was a virus coming. And they all made fun of me and they said, "Oh, woo-hoo, it's the flu," and blah, 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 whatever. And, literally within an hour of that conversation starting, we all got the alert on our phone that the schools were closing down. So like, I saw the trajectory of this. I saw what was coming. I knew what was coming, and I knew that there was a virus out there. And I absolutely felt that there was a reason to be cautious. And so, when everything shut down, I was worried, I was concerned, but I never stopped seeing my family, for example.
I know your dad used to post the pictures while everyone else was in lockdown, and you.
What am I gonna? I'm stuck at home with 2 little kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna go see my parents who live 5 minutes away from me, who I spend every single day with. That's ridiculous. So anyway, but I took it seriously. We all did. My whole family took it seriously for about 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah. I ask everybody this that sort of holds a position that you hold. And I'm going to go out on a limb and think that I'm going to take you at your word and say that you thought that the virus or the pandemic was overblown. I understand that sentiment. I find that I don't share that sentiment, mostly because I'm still sort of agnostic about what everything was. I lean towards the idea that it was a pandemic. The World Health Organization had a template for whatever the next one was going to be, and they stuffed this pandemic into that template, and it didn't work out that well for a lot of people. And it didn't really work out in a sense because it was so fluid. But then I always get, I get like, there's this nagging point that I'm always like careful to make, because I don't want to sound like I'm giddy about it or anything, but I can't get past the one point of the of sort of like the conflict that I have with people that hold your position, which is this. I understand the argument that it impacts old people and sick people mostly. I totally get that. I agree with that. The point of separation, the thing that I have trouble reconciling with people that have your opinion on the pandemic is that if the people who didn't think it was that serious for them didn't protect others, then they could carry it and spread it and be fine, but that doesn't mean other people will be fine. Right. And so this is where liberty runs right into the greater good.
So listen, so first of all, I mean, Ryan Lindley brings up a great point here. His wife working in long-term care. Well, actually, in long-term care, COVID is a huge issue. In fact, in the riding that I currently live in, 83% of all COVID deaths have occurred in long-term care. So that tells me that we don't so much have a virus pandemic issue, we have a long-term care issue. Okay? If seniors are dying in great numbers who have been locked down, isolated, masked, vaccinated, and frankly neglected, that's a problem. But let me put this to you about your issue with people like me who think it's been overblown.
You people. Sorry.
Well, us, I know. Trust me. I get told this every day. Okay. Your kind aren't welcome here.
It doesn't count. You're white. Go on.
So anyway, what I was saying was, well, what was I saying now?
Long-term care.
Yes. So I only wore a mask for work from July until I was canned because I was anti-masker, even though I wore a mask. So from July until December, or like the 1st of December 2020. And I only ever wore one at work. I never wore one at any of the protests that I went to. I never wore one when I went to the grocery store. My kids never wore masks ever, not in school.
What did you say when at the grocery store when they were like, "Excuse me, ma'am, can you put on your mask?" What did you say?
I said, "I'm exempt, thank you."
But were you though?
Yes, I'm a victim of domestic violence. I suffer from PTSD.
Okay. Obviously, I'm not going to question the abuse part.
Because
however,
but
I'm
listen,
curious
I have
as
a point,
to
James. I have a point that I'm trying to make.
Let's go back to that because I'm curious
which is this. So my no one in my family ever wore a mask. None of them are vaccinated. I know it's shocking, but it's true.
I've seen the family photos.
I went around and saw thousands of people, shook their hands, hugged them. We had parties at the house, everything. Do you know how many people that I still to this day know who have had COVID? Less than 5. So
knowingly,
yes, who were sick enough to get tested and seek out non-existent therapeutic treatment. Yes. So you tell me that it's a pandemic and you tell me that I could possibly be out making people sick, but I have not seen any evidence of that. I haven't been sick. I haven't even had I haven't even had a runny nose. So the thought that I could possibly be out unknowingly killing people for 2 years seems pretty absurd to me.
Well, I mean, there was data to back up the idea that, say, for example, millennials or Gen Xers were spreading the disease but not getting sick from it. I mean, that's not totally outlandish.
I mean, it's bullshit.
How is that bullshit?
Well, it just is. I mean, tell me how you prove that. Tell me how you prove that someone who was never sick was the one spreading the disease.
Because there's something called asymptomatic.
No, there isn't. There isn't. You can't be sick and not sick at the same time.
You can be a carrier of a virus, but not exhibit the symptoms of a virus. There's people with the AIDS virus, with HIV, that are just carriers, but don't suffer from HIV.
It's not an upper AIDS. Sorry, HIV.
I'm not saying it's the same type of virus.
I'm just respiratory seasonal virus. Right. So you know, you can make a comparison to cancer or to HIV or anything.
I'm not comparing the disease under a microscope. I'm saying you can be a carrier of things, but not necessarily a person who suffers from those things.
If you aren't actively ill with an upper respiratory infection, which I mean, you're not sneezing, coughing, and spreading it, you can't get people sick with it. So if I never had a stuffy nose and I never had a cough and I never sneezed, how would I spread it to anyone?
I don't think that's accurate. I think you can be a carrier of COVID. Without exhibiting symptoms, you can be a carrier of COVID and spread it to other people without exhibiting symptoms.
I have a question for you then. At what point am I not a carrier?
When you don't test positive for COVID.
So what if I never tested positive for COVID?
What's your question?
So at what point am I not a carrier? Because this is the argument, is that people like me were going around and killing people. But I've never tested positive.
That's a hyperbolic way of saying it. Right? What I said to Max Bernier, for example, was like, he was telling me, he's like, James, I like to go to my rallies and say hi to everybody. And I was like, that's great. Does it ever give you pause to think that the thousands of people that go to the rallies, that some of them might contract the virus at the rally and give it to a relative? I'm not going to use the hyperbolic statements and say you're going to kill grandma and all that kind of stuff, but I'm just saying. And would that give you pause? And he said no.
It doesn't.
And
give me
pardon?
It doesn't give me pause either at all. We're adults. We make choices about who we hang around, who we
sometimes our choices don't impact us. they impact others sometimes. So I mean, I'm sure you're not saying that it's impossible that someone who didn't believe in this pandemic and didn't believe it was that serious, you don't think it's impossible that they could have contracted COVID and gave it to someone else who then gave it to someone who then died. That's not impossible, right? That is
it's not
completely
impossible,
plausible.
but it's also not my fault or anyone else's because contracting an upper respiratory virus is not a moral issue.
Spreading it knowingly,
No,
not putting the safeguards in place to spread it.
Human condition. We get viruses. We spread viruses. Therefore, it is not a moral issue. You cannot be human without ever contracting a virus.
Yes, but some viruses should be taken a little bit more seriously than other viruses. You would agree with that?
Well, I mean, HIV, yes, should be taken much more seriously than COVID.
It's harder to spread HIV.
The flu and COVID are much more similar, and I give them the same moral weight in spreading.
Yeah. I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole here because I'm not a medical professional. I don't really have the.
Let's talk about something other than COVID for a little bit.
Okay, let's talk. You know what? Do you? This is going to be one of those questions that is going to be funny. That I think it will be funny. Do you think that it helps or hinders the Randy Hillier is a Russian asset troll job when you have a picture of Vladimir Putin on your nightstand there?
It's a Russian doll.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I gave James a bit of a backstory on the Russian doll before we came on air. So this is, the typical Russian doll. And we've got all of the Russian.
Is that Khrushchev? Who's that? Yep. Is that Yeltsin?
And Gorbachev.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who this guy is actually.
I don't know. Every time you pull it out, I think it looks like Fred Flintstone because of the color.
I did have Stalin and Lenin. They were littler. But my kids lost them. So anyway, when I was in high school, my boyfriend, his dad worked for he was a director for Indian and Northern Affairs. Very, very high profile director. And he also fled East Germany as a child. And he went to Russia about 3 times a year. And my boyfriend would sometimes go with him. So one time they brought me back Vlad. And
somewhere your dad is like, put that away, Chelsea. Put that away.
No, my dad loves my Russian dolls. It's all good.
My dad loves my Russian dolls. Oh my God.
Listen, so you know what? This, I love this. I love this idea that the Hilliers are Russian assets. It gives me great pleasure to think that people actually take Dean Blundell's nonsense seriously. None of us have ever been to Russia.
Popular.
Well, he's the personification of evil on this planet, but we can agree to disagree.
Well, James, the way to combat Dean Blundell's overstatements of my family is to call him the worst.
You know what? Dean Blundell has encouraged, not just encouraged, but directly told people to harass and abuse my family, and they have in great numbers. It's been GD horrible. And I think
say goddamn.
I can't. I can't.
Jesus fucking Christ! Just say goddamn.
You see what's behind Vlad? It's 2 versions of the Holy Bible.
Who's Holly Bibble? I don't even know who Holly Bibble is.
I won't say it, but I will say GD.
Really? Are you that religious? Sorry, it's just that you don't strike me as someone that believes in that stuff.
I know I'm not your stereotypical anything. So, more surprises to come, James.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, it actually speaks to the Dean comment that you just said because, he was the one that made me kind of realize that a lot of people that feel the way that you feel really like Jesus, like a lot. I'm just wondering what the connecting tissue is. Maybe I can get it from someone who's actually a Jesus homie, Well,
we could do a whole episode just on that, but basically if I can put it into one sentence, I'll say, we kneel to one and that's Christ.
Say,
we don't kneel to government. So when we see government doing evil, it is not our job to get down on our knees and accept what they say. It's our job to stand up like Christ did and stand against the establishment and move forward.
You know, he died in the end.
We all do.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Jesus died for our sins. So if we stop sinning, that means he died for nothing.
We'll never stop sinning. That's the whole point of Christianity.
Awesome. I knew I liked it for a reason.
Well, I mean, it's a good religion.
Yeah, I'm not. Honestly, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, it's going to.
I don't. I just said I won't say the full GD. You know, just.
Well, goddamn, I'll say it for you, Chelsea. Is
you
this
know what?
That...
I won't hate you for it.
Well, how could you? It's just words. Just consonants and verbs smushed together to make sounds. Were you raised Catholic? Because I was raised Catholic.
I was not raised in the church at all.
Oh.
At all. My mom is a full-blown atheist. I grew up being told that God does not exist.
Wait a second. Your mom and your dad are married still?
Oh, yes.
And your mom's an atheist, and your dad is decidedly not an atheist. Correct?
That's right.
And so what is that like at the kitchen table? This is really interesting. I didn't think that we'd get to... Is your mom there? Can I speak to your mother, please?
No, I live in my own house. I know people don't know this about me, but I don't live with my parents.
You guys seem like the Waltons. I don't know what it is. Like, just like there's a John Boy in there somewhere, right? Like, you know.
My parents have been married... Well, they're I think their 41st anniversary is coming up next month. My parents are polar opposites. They have literally nothing in common. And they are the most aspirational couple that you can ever imagine. They're incredible.
So she doesn't believe in God and she doesn't drink. I'm just kidding.
I know you have this thing about my dad being a drunk.
I don't think he's a drunk. I just think I can tell when he's had one. That's all I'm saying.
You can't. This is the crazy thing. I've been alive for 36 years and I've seen my dad drunk twice.
Really?
Yes.
I've seen your dad in person like 3 times and I feel like I've seen him drunk twice.
People think that I'm drunk all the time because I'm a lot like my dad. I'm very like gregarious. I like to talk to people. I get very excited. I'm passionate about things. And so, you know, so people mistake that for like, no one can be this into something. She must be on something or he must be on something, you know, but no, you know, we enjoy imbibing in some pints. That's not untrue, but no, my mom's an atheist. My mom hates politics. My mom for the most part, she hates people. She trusts no one. And that's my mom in a nutshell. She's also the funniest person I've ever met in my life. My dad.
Atheists are really funny. Atheists are super funny.
Well, I mean, she doesn't mean to be. She's not purposely funny.
But she doesn't look over her shoulder from the omnipotent being who's going like this anytime she makes an off-color joke.
I mean, I don't know. I don't.
Christians.
I mean, have you seen my Twitter account? All I do is make off-color jokes.
But you won't say goddamn.
Literally all I do.
Can you tell me about this? Because I just saw this today. Help Esther fight back against defamation. Yep. She's organizing a fundraiser to raise $10,000.
Yes.
To raise money for her legal campaign because she says that you libeled her. Is that right?
Yep. So in order to protect myself and not have a secondary lawsuit or an additional, you know, whatever she wants to do, Esther was my university professor. She taught me gender and sexuality and literature, among other great courses. I was in her wedding. I was her bridesmaid.
Where did it all start to go downhill? Let me guess. When the pandemic started.
Last year, she began actively harassing myself and my father on her Twitter account and on Facebook, and then personally as well, sending me various messages. I asked her on multiple occasions to please stop. I also told her things like, we are going to disagree. We do disagree. That's okay. And I said, if shit ever hits the fan for you, I will be here with my hand out for you. And instead of stopping, she carried on and escalated and escalated and escalated. And so I said to her at some point, you should be careful because there's things that I know about you that would be probably detrimental to your career and your life if people found out. So if you keep going,
give me an example.
I'm not going to because it's in the lawsuit. So anyway, I said, if you keep going, if you keep defaming, harassing, and abusing my family, which she was doing actively every single day and continues to do, I said, I will release this information. And I did. She made a choice. Okay. I made a choice.
Let me ask you something, and this isn't to be combative, but I'm going to play devil's advocate.
James, everything you do is to be combative.
Oh, fuck off. It is not. For real though. Do you worry at all that I want to word this I really want to word this the right way because I don't want it to sound.
Don't word it delicate. Just speak.
Sometimes it sounds like either there's a little bit too much woe is me when it comes to you and your family. Like when I don't know how you define abuse. I don't know how you define hatred. Obviously, let's just both accept that there's obvious examples like I fucking hate you, probably hatred. You know what I mean? Like, or I wish you were dead. Blah, blah. But is there ever a time where maybe you're just on the receiving end of constructive criticism and it's frustrating because you're constantly hearing the same shit and you sort of include that in the pile?
James. It's not constructive. Let's be real. Remember, let's go back a few minutes to when I said, when we were talking about me trolling people. Yeah, I do troll people. But like I said, I never, ever target their personal life and who they actually are as people. I take the umbrella that they're holding and I make fun of the umbrella. I don't make fun of the person holding it. Okay? What we go through, and listen, I'm not saying I'm a victim. I'm saying it has been difficult. Okay? And I think that I'm allowed to say that.
Sure. Yeah,
I'm not saying like, oh, I'm a victim and like, look at me, I'm so freaking hurt. I'm just saying like, it's been tough. And I wish, especially from someone who I stood beside in their wedding, they would have more respect for me as a person to not go out and trash my family and me on a daily basis. Like that's a low thing to do.
See, if I were invited to be a best man in a wedding, I would be like, this isn't even sacred. This has like a 30% chance of surviving anyways. You know, like you just put a filler guy in for the best man, filler guy in for the best.
I have so much to say here, but it's also part of the lawsuit. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
Did you sleep with the husband?
No, but I was in class with him.
Oh, they started dating when she was teaching. That's interesting.
I didn't say anything.
I know you didn't, but you led me down the pasture and I ate up the apple like Chris Sky, you know? By the way, do you have a relationship with him? Like a professional relationship?
No, I've never met him. I've never spoken to him and I hope to never meet or speak to him.
Yeah. Well, see, that's a good delineation line for you. Like, I mean, like, you know, I don't really know much about you. I know that you were somehow sort of in the picture or on the peripheral when that gravel gate thing happened, when someone threw a rock at somebody. I don't know did you hand him the rock? Like what was the,
I actually, people don't know this, but I actually, I had a mask like this and I had it filled with gravel. And when Justin Trudeau showed up, I passed it over. No, I'm kidding. Obviously I had nothing to do with it. In fact, I got hit by the gravel.
Wow. Really?
Yes.
I don't know that story. We got it from this guy, Mark Slipinski, who ended up being a total fraud in the end. So
we all know who Mark Slipinski is, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was confused about all that. But anyways, either way, so you ran for the People's Party of Canada in London, is that right?
Elgin, Middlesex, London. Yeah.
Did you know that area at all? Had you lived there before, or?
Yeah, I was living there.
Okay.
I moved there in January 2021.
Okay. And the People's Party of Canada didn't win a seat. You finished in fourth. I think you got like 11.5% of the vote or something like that.
12.
What?
Maybe 12. Let's go with
Oh,
12.
12. Okay. 12%. Okay, let's do a recount, everybody. Let's see if she got that 0.5% in there.
Well, no, I mean there's some ballots that are still under tables, but we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. Listen. Look, first of all, we agree on Trudeau. I just saw Ryan in the comments, and like, there's a whole bunch of points of agreements that I think that we could probably come to terms with.
There's points of agreements that I can come to terms with just about anyone, to be totally honest.
Right, and I think that's important. I think you're a lot less inflammatory than your dad is. You might be more sarcastic, but you're not as like hyperbolic.
I'm a woman.
Like your dad was saying that like we're living in a tyranny, and it's like the most first world tyranny I've ever seen. And just a week after the real hey he's a tyrant was really getting strong, Putin starts dropping bombs on his neighbor, and I'm like, well, that's a tyrant. What do we have here? This is like the most cupcake version of a tyrant I've ever seen.
Well, how do you think that we get to tyranny? Do you think that it happens overnight, or do you think it happens over time?
I think we can wax poetic about how things.
No, it's not waxing poetic. I'm asking you a serious question.
I know,
but
I think
over time, or does it happen overnight?
Well, that's like I'm more thoughtful than to give one answer.
Okay, well, proselytize then about your thoughts on whether it happens over
Allow
time.
me to pontificate, if you will. Jesus fucking Christ, Chelsea. The idea that that we incrementally end up with a tyrannical government. I think that you could point to any government that the United States or Canada has had in the last 25 years.
60 years. Yes.
Sure. And choose a demarcation point of when it could have gone off the rails. You could do that with any government. You could do that with Trudeau's debt.
Forward, man. March.
But hold on a second.
We're getting very close.
I have a greater point. So the just watch me moment with Pierre Elliott Trudeau, that could have gone awry. That could have turned into something tyrannical. The Stephen Harper's entire administration, whatever you want to call it, the 11 years or whatever it was that he was in power, there were a lot of different touch points that I thought, okay, well, this could go one way, this could go the other way. Chrétien, same thing. We could have totally gone off the rails and went to war in Iraq, and we could have been there for 20 years. There's a whole bunch of things but
instead we chose Afghanistan.
Right. But the choosing that, but the idea that invoking the Emergencies Act, okay, we probably had a very similar version of Justin Trudeau before this pandemic. Let's see if you agree with any of this. He's a fucking virtue signaler. He's phony as fuck. He's very dishonest. He's unethical. And I don't think that he's honest to his most steadfast supporters. Would you agree with all of those statements?
Okay, so interestingly, I agree with all of that now. But in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, even though I never voted Liberal, I voted Green and NDP only. I
know you. I figured you got red pilled. Right, I got it.
I actually believed. No, I didn't get red pilled. I came back. I circled back. Okay. Like Jen Psaki. I did a circle back. It's a ginger thing. Anyway.
Are you a ginger?
Yeah, I am. I'm Auburn ginger. So.
Oh, so you're not totally fucking crazy. Okay, go. I bust the balls people. Listen. I'm trying to do you a solid here.
Anyway,
but what I was going to say,
what I thought about Trudeau prior to this was that he was not bright, but that he was, personable, and that he understood his own weaknesses and surrounded himself with people who had strengths that weren't his. And so while I never voted for him and I never thought that he was fantastic, I thought at the time that he was at least smart enough to recognize his own deficits. I know better now.
Okay. But on that, what I was going to say, because we agree, I felt this way probably halfway, like 6 months into his government when he first won. I was like, oh fuck, this is what we have. He is a political animal surrounded by political animals. Everything is a political decision. So when he invoked the Emergencies Act after what I thought would have been the more logical time to. I was just like, this isn't tyranny. This is politics. This is not a power grab. This is a symbolic act so that half the country can think he's doing something, even though the other half of the country understand that he's just being political.
I mean, everything that he does is just to appear that he's doing something, and that is politics in this country. And so,
but it's not tyranny. But it's not tyranny.
No. But like, there is a process of laying the groundwork. Okay. And I think that we are on a dangerous path in this country when we have an entire segment of the population who is literally called dirty, unclean, and is not allowed to travel, not allowed to leave, not allowed to go the next province over by plane to meet their family. That's a dangerous precedent. So myself and my children, we are dirty people, and we're not allowed to get on a train or a plane, and we're not allowed to go back to Newfoundland on a boat either. So, we can drive out to Cape Breton, and that's as far as we're going to get. So, that's dangerous. And when I hear leaders say things like, these people take up space, and are we going to allow this of these people? That is rhetoric that I think every single Canadian should find very problematic.
I didn't like it when Trudeau was, even though when he was on that French program, the context was complete. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I want to jump in here because someone just posted something that I really, really want to speak to, that I've been trying to speak to on Twitter, but it's not getting.
I would just like to give a shout out to my co-host, the chat overlay. But go ahead.
Pure blood. I hate this narrative, and every time I see someone who's like ostensibly on my side using this nonsense pure blood, I call it out. It's dangerous, just like all the other rhetoric coming from the other side. It is rife with eugenics history, with miscegenation. It's rife with, quantum blood levels for Native people. I will call that out every single time. And sorry to interrupt you, but I saw it pop up, and I just wanted to say it is not okay. And I will continue to call it out, just like I call out David Fistman for saying things like, you shouldn't mix, because they say the same things. Mixing and pure blood, same thing.
You shouldn't mix what? What did he say?
He said mixing with unvaccinated individuals is dangerous.
Yeah, I don't like the rhetoric either, and I've been on record about the rhetoric since the beginning. But I mean, listen, we could cherry pick a lot of things that any world leader says, and especially Justin Trudeau, because he seems to put more effort into gaps than any prime minister in my lifetime. However, while I don't agree with, I think that you should be allowed on a plane nowadays by getting like a rapid test before you get on the flight or something like that. Like, I don't think that there should be a vaccine mandate when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I'm not all fucked up about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where no, because I'm vaccinated, but like listen, I can still sympathize with the people that are not vaccinated that want to go on a plane and take like a rapid test before they go on a plane. I am not afraid to go on an airplane with unvaccinated people, right? Like I am not afraid. Yeah, first of all, I'm one of these people that, like, honestly, like, people think I contradict myself when it comes to this pandemic. I was never afraid of COVID. You know what I mean? I still wore my mask. I still, even though I'm double vaxxed, I get my third shot in a couple weeks or something. But like,
oh, please don't.
Don't listen. Like, you know what? I almost fucking lost it. No, I know. But listen, I was downtown. Downtown. I was working. I work a couple days a week at the local library. I think libraries are important, and I've been working at one for 5 years. And this lady came in, and she wanted to put up some conspiracy theory stuff about Charles Schwab and the World Economic Forum and all this stuff. And I'm like, this is a library. I don't want to deal with this. Right.
Yeah.
And then she's like, and then she had the nerve to be like, well, if you don't care about your children, get them vaccinated. And I was just like, get the fuck out of my library.
Anyone can say anything that they want about me, but what they, there's my child, or one of them anyway. But like people can say whatever they want about me. But one thing that I have never done is judge someone for getting vaccinated, judge someone for wearing a mask, or
you just told me not to get my vaccination.
That's what it was a joke. That's why I said I'm joking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Like, I don't care. Go do it. If that's what's right for you, and that's what you got to stop. If that's what's right for you and you believe that that's the good thing to do and that's the choice that you're making, I 110% support you in that. Like absolutely no question. If people want to keep wearing masks, if people ever want to wear a mask, if they want to wear two, go for it. I don't care. Like, do what is good for you and your body. Do what's good for you in your life. Do what's good for you and your family. But this conspiracy stuff, I've been dealing with it for 2 years now because, I was working for No More Lockdowns and I was being like I was sort of like a coordinator, provincial coordinator to set up local groups. And I did intake for people who wanted to be local leaders. And the entire intake was don't peddle conspiracy bullshit. We are ending lockdowns. That's what we want to do. We want businesses open. We want kids in school, and we want people to have a choice what happens to their lives.
Is your dad's a member of, how did No More Lockdown start?
My dad and I started it.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, and that was a job or that was like a volunteer thing?
It was a volunteer position.
Okay. But they raise money though, right?
We raise money for signs. Yeah. Lots.
Just for signs? Just for like, just hold up signs at the protest?
Well, there were two fundraising avenues for No More Lockdowns. One was for legal fees because we got so many charges, myself, my dad, my brothers, and many other people. So one avenue was for legal fundraising and the other one was for signs.
Okay.
So, and we distributed something like 50,000 signs, 60,000 signs across Ontario.
And this is during 2020 and 2021?
Yeah.
So okay, we're at a different spot, obviously, in the pandemic now. I would say that we're probably at near the end. And I'm talking about the virus itself. I'm not talking about policy. But I would have had a problem with what you guys were doing back in 2020 or 2021 because that's when the spread of the virus was actually an important thing. And I'm still sort of stuck on the idea that, like, if you didn't accept that locking people down and wearing masks was an acceptable way to deal with this pandemic, what was your alternative ideas other than doing nothing and just believing in liberty?
The alternative to forcibly shutting down people's businesses and ripping kids out of school, not doing those things.
Okay, but what would be your solution to stop the spread? Is what I'm asking.
The WHO, for example, I know you guys all love the WHO. The WHO had a full pandemic.
I actually don't love the WHO. I think the WHO is a corrupt political organization. But go ahead.
Playbook from prior to 2020, and basically it is saying protect the vulnerable, and that's it. Like, so why did my friend, I have friends, he owns a restaurant, she owns a hair salon, they have 2 kids. Guess what happened to them? They lost everything. They lost everything. So in order to save one life, they ruined 4. And,
well, it's not one life.
It is one life because if you were worried about going to a restaurant or going to a hair salon, you wouldn't go. No one was forcing you to go into the restaurant and the hair salon, right? And so they destroyed businesses, they destroyed livelihoods, and it continues to this day. Now people have been fired and they're not allowed to collect EI that they've paid into for years because they won't get an injection that the government says they need. Like, it's literally just destroying lives.
I didn't hear about that. Sorry, are you saying that like the government won't give you EI unless you're vaccinated?
No, anyone who was let go because they wouldn't get the vaccine does not qualify for EI, even though they paid into it.
Are you sure about that?
100%. I have heard from hundreds of people who are dealing with it still to this day.
You've heard from hundreds of people.
That is absolutely 100% unequivocally true.
Okay. I'll have to take your word for it because I'm not familiar with that. It sounds fishy. Like you can quit your job and get EI, like really.
Yeah, but the way like Justin Trudeau literally put this in place. If you didn't get, and people are making jokes about CERB, when the vaccine mandates came in, CERB was long gone. Okay. So the people who lost their jobs because they're what you guys like to say, scared of a needle, or actually were just exercising bodily autonomy, they don't get employment insurance that they've paid into. This isn't welfare. This isn't just like a fun thing that the government gives out. I'm not saying that that's what welfare is, but you get my point. They pay into EI on every single paycheck that they've ever earned. And then they get denied EI because they won't get an injection that the government tells them they have to get, or that their employer tells them they have to get. It's disgusting.
Okay. We don't have much time left. But I want to also talk about Ukraine a little bit. Because your dad, I don't have his quotes in front of me, but he just kind of seemed like we were going a little bit too hard on Russia and that Ukraine was filled with Nazis, basically, is the messages that I remember hearing from your dad. What are your thoughts, excuse me, on Ukraine and the conflict over there?
My thoughts about it is that Ukraine is fighting a proxy war between the US and Russia.
Explain that.
Russia, rightfully so, does not want NATO on its doorstep. And NATO, in fact, should have been abolished many years ago. I think NATO is one of the most disgusting, corrupt organizations out there. So instead of disbanding, what they've done is spread further to the east throughout Europe and right onto Russia's doorstep. And Putin has made it very clear, this is a threat to the sovereignty of Russia. And he told Ukraine, he told Zelensky, if you keep going, we're going to go to war. And what did Zelensky do? He carried on the path of courting NATO.
Carried on the path of courting NATO.
Zelensky wants
that doesn't sound like a very good reason. No, but Zelensky.
Well, what would you do? Okay, so let's put it this way. Okay, so the United States has a military alliance. Okay,
I understand how the
military alliance, and they put nuclear weapons on Canadian border.
Okay, but I understand the greater point you're making. NATO's been doing that for a long time.
NATO should be abolished.
Right.
NATO.
When communism fell, the agreement that was made with Ronald Reagan, between Reagan and Stained Head, what's the name?
Gorbachev,
was that NATO would not expand further after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And they obviously went back on that. Ukraine was in a spot where they weren't exactly, before the Russian invasion of Crimea and the annexation of Crimea, they weren't lobbying to be part of NATO because they knew, or they figured that that Russia would attack if that happened. So it's always been this weird chess game. There's a ton of don't you think now that what Putin is doing is similar to what, and for totally different reasons, but is similar to what, it's like Russia has their Bush administration, is what I think. That's the way I look at it.
Oh my God, that's such a tired.
Sorry, do you need a moment? You just
sorry, I'm gonna throw up. No,
okay.
Come on, that's bullshit. You say it's similar, but it's totally different. Yeah, it's absolutely.
No.
Totally
I said
different.
The reasons. So they're not fighting Islamic terror or
they're not
pretending
going
to fight
overseas
Islamic
and
terror.
bombing the shit out of countries that have nothing to do with them because they want their oil. They're actually there is an actual threat to their sovereignty as a nation.
They're bombing their neighbors so that they can secure more natural gas.
Is that why? You don't believe
that is one of the reasons. That's the reason why they snagged Crimea, for sure.
They want Crimea because it's on the port. It's a port region and it has access to the sea. Of course, they want Crimea, and it's also chock full of ethnic Russians. So absolutely, they want it. Yes, 100%. Just like the Donbass, just like Donetsk. Yeah, of course. They want the places that are filled with ethnic Russians. And the Ukraine has actually been shelling and bombing the shit out of those places for years, since 2014. So yeah, I mean, the Russians want it.
I don't know if that's true.
It is true. Look at
so Ukraine. So hold on. So Russia invades Crimea, which is part of Ukraine.
Yes.
And Ukraine responds by dropping bombs on Russian military personnel inside.
No, they don't respond by it.
What do you think it is?
This has been happening since 2014.
Ukraine, right, but because their country was invaded.
No, because people want to leave their country.
Oh, this is a Putin talking point, love. It really is.
Oh, love.
Crimea.
Love. Don't call me love. That's disgusting. Okay?
I'm sorry, babe.
Sorry.
I didn't mean to. My bad.
We can have a talk and we can disagree, but don't be condescending.
It's not condescending. It's like a British term of endearment. I just happen to be Italian. I don't know.
Then call me amore or something
Okay, listen, mi amore. No, but for real, Crimea was an invasion. It was a Russian invasion of their neighboring country.
So here's the deal.
It would be like France invading Quebec and then saying, "Oh, but it's okay. They're French people."
The person that I look to for most of my information on what's going on in Ukraine and Russia is Noam Chomsky. I'm
familiar with his work.
Yes,
I know his quote. I know the quote. He said that Trump is the only statesman. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm not even talking about that. He's been talking about this for years and years. He actually started talking about this prior to Ukraine starting to shell Donbass in 2014. So he's been talking about this for years. And I like to go to Noam Chomsky to look at this stuff and to actually get what I think is a fairly unbiased view of what's going on in the region. So back to the point.
I interviewed Noam Chomsky twice in the last year, and I'm going to interview him again in the fall. And I will certainly ask him. I'm familiar with the way that he has taken the critical viewpoint on NATO and how they have spread their bases. And that is a totally legit argument. It doesn't make a Russian invasion of a foreign country legitimized, though. That's all. I often think there's no good guys.
I'm not saying that
I think people forget that.
Legitimizes it. But what I'm saying is Zelensky and the powers that be in Ukraine knew what the outcome was going to be of their actions. And I believe that they got snaked
of their response.
I think that they got snaked into fighting a proxy war on behalf of the United States. That's what I believe, and that's what I said at the beginning. They are fighting a proxy war. They were right, set up.
But it wasn't their actions. It was their response to an invasion of their country.
They knew
their country was invaded in 2014. Right?
Okay.
Crimea was
you and I is probably part of the both need to go back and do some more reading so that we can be geopolitical experts on Ukraine and Russia.
No, we don't.
I'm not. All I know is what I've seen.
But it's just recent history. Russia invaded Ukraine, annexed the province of Crimea so that they could open up their natural gas pipeline because they service 40% of Europe and it would make it a lot more lucrative and easier for them. Was Crimea crawling with ethnic Russians? Yep. It was like 75% or something like that. I don't remember the exact number. But anything that happens after that initial invasion on Ukraine's part is not Ukraine taking horrible actions. It's responding to being invaded.
No, they have done terrible things, and I'm not saying Russia hasn't. Okay, this is not like one guy is absolutely good and one guy is absolutely evil. This is me saying there have been really terrible things done on both sides, and this idea of boiling it down to everyone fly the Ukraine flag and everyone hate Russia is bullshit. Because it's not accurate and it doesn't reflect the reality of the situation.
I think that would you not agree though that Putin is a bad guy?
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna say something because I know how these things go, and I can see the comments popping up.
I don't think you do.
This is gonna be cropped out and made to seem like I love Putin and I hate Ukraine.
This is live.
Blah blah blah.
This is live.
I know, and when it replays, it's gonna be crazy. You don't think record this?
You think I'm gonna edit this?
I've seen what you've done to other people. So I would argue.
Hold on a second. What have I done to other people?
Are you kidding me? I've seen
No,
how
I'm
these
not
things
kidding.
play
I'm
out.
asking you, what have I done to other people?
Maybe not you, but other people who watch these things, they record it, they cut things out. I don't want to be misquoted. Listen, I think that there are bad players on both sides, and I think that the boiling down of good versus evil is nonsense. It's nonsense.
I think painting a false equivalency between a country that invades and a country that's being invaded is probably bullshit as well.
I would ask the people in Donbass how they feel about Ukraine, because they're part of Ukraine and it hasn't been good for them.
Yeah, there something has happened over the last, I would say, 10 years or so. This softening of the conservative position on Russia, and it's really hard to understand.
Conservative.
I'm not well. I'm just speaking in general terms now, right? I'm not necessarily talking about you, but you are carrying the water for this people that do that, though.
I'm saying nothing is black and white, and I'm also not a geopolitical expert. Okay, you're going to talk to Noam Chomsky, and he's going to say a lot of the things that I've said, but much more eloquently. Okay,
and a lot slower.
Not black and white.
He's 94.
It's not black and white. What does that have to do with it?
I said
it's
it.
Not
he's
black and
say
white. It is not
listen,
good
relax.
versus evil.
You said he was going to be more eloquently, and I said he's going to be a lot slower because he's 94. It was just a joke.
Okay, slower, fine, but still more eloquent.
Yeah, he'll be eloquent about it. Nonetheless,
let's talk about the upcoming provincial election.
Pardon me?
Let's talk about the upcoming provincial election.
Oh, okay.
In my
producer Chelsea Hillier, the new producer of Blackballed with James.
Or we can talk about Dean Blundell. I mean, whichever one you choose.
Let's talk about Dean Blundell.
Lawsuit coming.
Yeah. You know what? Dean wouldn't see you. I don't think. Like, I understand. Like, listen, maybe I don't want to talk about Dean because he's a good friend of mine, and he's done a lot for me, and I know he's a generous, nice person. When
he was a homophobe.
He's not a homophobe. And by the way, that's like,
that's a joke.
Okay, good because he's not.
I mean, they're being called the same thing. So.
Well, I'm sure. Whatever your dad's first scandal was, imagine how annoying it would be if 10 years later people were still talking about your dad's first scandal, whatever that happened to be. What?
I said, aren't they?
I don't know. Your dad is the greatest hits of scandals. so it's really hard to pin one down.
He's the best. That's true.
You told me on the phone today that I told you that like if he goes to jail, he'll end up being a martyr. And you were like, oh, if my dad goes to jail, he's going to counsel the inmates on how to handle their lawyer. And I was like, but he'll be in prison.
I mean, we were talking.
Is he a credible source on this?
But my dad is chock full of amazing advice. And if anyone actually ever cared to stop just spewing hate and shit at him and actually look at who he really is, he's an amazing man. He's the best. I like your dad. Listen to me for a second. Asked for. And so my point was,
yeah.
My point was,
and then listen to me for a second. Okay, go ahead.
If he's in jail, he's going to be okay. And he's probably going to do a lot of good for people.
Maybe your dad will like run things in prison. Are you going to like smuggle cigarettes in for him and stuff?
Well, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
I forgot your dad likes his darts. Yeah.
Who doesn't? Anyone who says they don't like smoking is lying.
You know what? I don't know about anybody, but I still smoke. Yeah,
me too.
Let's end it on that because I don't want to go back down any rabbit holes. I thought that it was. I think you did a good job. I think our sparring was good. I can't wait to totally edit this cheaply so that you say you wish your dad was in jail and that he drinks all the time.
You know what I mean, though. Like people take clips and they turn it into some crazy shit.
I don't do that. I've never done that.
I'm not saying you specifically. I'm just saying like Dean Blundell probably.
I'm the only one here, love. Oh fuck, I said love again. Sorry.
Listen,
Chelsea Hillier.
Here's the thing. Can I just say?
Yeah, please.
I don't hate anyone. I don't like. I love people. I love people. I hate what's happening right now. And the whole comment feed of this is just filled with people who hate me and want to see me just taken down.
I see. Again, I don't think that's it.
Like, here's this. It's not. This isn't about me.
That's why you sound like a victim sometimes. That's why you sound like a victim
sometimes.
sometimes.
Because I'm speaking to a greater social issue. It's not just about
Okay.
me. Why is anyone going out of their way to try to take anyone down? Talk. You and I don't agree on anything. You and I don't agree on a lot of things. You know, but we're still here talking.
We agree that it was inappropriate for your friend to have a relationship with that student.
Hey,
but you didn't say that.
You said it, not me.
I know.
But you know what I mean? You get my point. It's terrible. I hate what's happened to the world. I hate what's happened to relationships and families and society. Like, talk and disagree and yell at each other. I yelled at you tonight. You know, you got pissed off at me for interrupting. Cool.
I called you love, and you were like ready to fucking send.
Well, I mean, there's some triggering things. Yeah, don't call me love.
I'm sorry, you know Toots. It won't happen again.
That's my ex leftist feminist stuff that's still buried deep down.
Yeah, what the fuck? I figure conservative gals were like, you could smack them on the ass. I'm not
conservative.
Oh, right.
I'm like the least conservative person you'll ever meet.
Yes, this interview totally showed that. It did.
What? Because I don't think Ukraine is good and Russia's evil.
I'm just a bunch of shit.
Oh, look, I'm disgusting.
I don't know who Kelly Lee is, but.
Well, hey, Kelly, how's it going? I hope your kids are tucked in well. I hope your husband's happy. I hope you've got a drink. I hope you're having a great night. And I hope tomorrow's a great day at work for you, Kelly.
What if she was like, I hope you're divorced. I hope your kids are bad. You know, hope your dad drinks.
I don't know. I really actually hope that her life is great. You know?
Are you remarried? How did your thing go? Like,
Am I remarried?
Are you single or are you married?
I have never been married.
Okay. Are you still with the dude that like fathered your children?
I can't speak to that.
Okay.
There's legal issues.
Okay. So if someone were to ask you out, would you be like, I can't, I'm taken? Or would you like,
listen,
I'll consider it?
I'm shy.
I'm not asking you out. Chelsea Hillier, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good one. That was Chelsea Hillier. Listen, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I want to I got along with her. I think that we got along for the most part. I don't think that we agree on much. Even though she said she yelled at me, I didn't feel like I was getting yelled at. Did anything transpire from that conversation that I think we could build on? Probably not. But I got to tell you, she wasn't horrible to talk to. She wasn't like, as bad as some people in the comments were making her seem. Do I agree with some of the shit she says? No. Do I steadfastly disagree with a lot of the stuff she said? Sure, I do. Was I disappointed that I didn't get to show her the file photograph that I have of Pierre Poilievre's dad showing his neighbors his new bed? Yeah. I would have. I have all this stuff on Poilievre, and I haven't done the show yet because I didn't have a voice. But I don't know if people. Maybe I'll just turn this into like no. I gotta save it. But just for the millennials and the Gen Zs, the reason why we call Poilievre Skippy is because of a character named Skippy from Family Ties. I don't know how I deviated into this direction of talking about this shit, but here we are. Yeah, guys, it's going to be fine. You can have conversations like that and it not blow up into a crazy place. I think she needs to brush up on her geopolitical recent history, but it doesn't matter. She was less hyperbolic than her dad. I would put her in the same category as like a Max Bernier. Even though I know a lot of people are like, they really don't like Max Bernier. We got to get past that shit. We just got to get to the point where it's like, oh, you, instead of fuck you. We have to figure this out. I'm going to end today with my Blackballed video just because I feel like it. And I think I'm going to have Andy Lee back on the show. I just found out a couple days ago that multi-million copies selling, best-selling author many times over, Linwood Barkley is going to be on the show on the 24th. I'll have some announcements between now and then. And yeah, until then, thanks everybody.
Thank you for having me. Look, journalism is dead. We'd all rather take selfies now than learn to comprehend. Look, I despise those colorblind, those self-absorbed reporters, those whores who suck the content for all the media hoarders. Those producers, man, they tap dance for the conglomerate's quarters. They exploit polarization, and it's done through gender, race, and borders. And meanwhile, they sell us fear, meds, and weapons every hour, leading bleeding screeds of misdeeds, but shit, none involving power. Those outlets, they insist they don't exist for shit clicks. Fuck, man, them pricks, they diss this writer like I was on some mysterious hit list. And the cable news, that's the villain. And I don't want to be mainstream. That's where fake dreams hit snakes and devils all up on the inseam. Know what I mean? A leg up into the armpit of all that corruption. Shit, this relationship, I think it's destined for a mutual destruction. Terror, mayhem. Nah, I know, I'll cool it with them J's. But you better send your fucking eagle and meet the talons of this goddamn osprey. Why? I've been blackballed before. Now I have to be my main source, looking out my front door, 'cause I've been blackballed, but now I am older. I know I have to keep on moving forward, never look over my shoulder. We live inside a landscape where editors are predators and writers get shelved and never properly mentored. Never cease to increase the pressure of the mighty pen's releases. I defeat your fucking arsenal with a single chess piece. Bless me, the non-believer. Fuck commies and libertarians and conservatives, liberals, anarchists and Presbyterians. Fuck left-wingers, right-wingers, throat singers, salesmen, the hacks who got rocked by that mentally impaired kid. I hate all of you. Find the button, press play. Abort the next generation, spare us from the next wave. And let's not blur the lines of yesterday. Just vibrate to your streetwise psilocybin sensei. It's true though, whether it's Trump or Justin Trudeau. New clothes for those who lie straight-faced, and kudos to faith-based race baiters. You guilty, shameful haters. Pull the plug, your crossfader is filthy. You milk these new breeds of dummies who promote racism and then cry to their mummies. MAGA, woke folks fight to a mutual death, and no one's left to foster divisions after the last breath. Now fucking die already. Seriously. Oh, but wait, one more thing. Bring your newspapers in case we all run out of confetti. I've been blackballed before. Now I have to be my main source, looking out my front door, 'cause I've been blackballed, but now I am older. I know I have to keep on moving forward, never look over my shoulder. I've been blackballed.
Blackballed. Blackballed. Blackballed.